I want to tell you about the last time I actually enjoyed using Google. I don't remember exactly when it was. That's kind of the point. I remember the feeling though. You type something in, you get a list of things, and then you start clicking. And somewhere in the third or fourth link, you find yourself in a forum from 2009 where someone who clearly spent too much time on this explained something you didn't know you needed to know, but you needed to know it. And that's the good version. That's not what Google is anymore. At I/O 2026, Google announced what they're calling an AI-first search experience. Instead of a list of links, you get a generated answer. Conversational, synthesized. You ask, it tells you, and if you want more, you ask again. A conversation. Right there in the search bar. And I know a lot of people look at that and thought, finally, this is the answer. But I looked at it and thought, we just killed the hunt. Welcome to Chaotic Commits. I'm Joanne, honest stories of building in modern tech. Today's episode is called Cache Myths, the search for something Google won't let you find. And I want to talk about 3 things that are connected in ways that some people are just not saying out loud. First, what we actually lose when search becomes a conversation. Second, the dead internet and why it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. And third, what AI training has to do with killing the incentive that made the internet worth searching in the first place. This one isn't a technical architecture episode. It's more of a what are we doing and who benefits episode. So let's get into it. I have an analogy, and stay with me here, about a librarian. You walk up to the reference desk at your library, you're 12, you're curious, and you say, I want to learn about whales. There are 2 ways this can go. The first way, the normal way, the librarian says, sure, marine mammals, section 599, 3rd row on your left, baleen whales over here, toothed whales over there. That's a great National Geographic from 1988, and that has photos you won't believe. And you go, and you find the whale books, and while you're there, you find an article about whale migration patterns, and that leads you to another article about the fact that gray whales are almost entirely right-handed. Actually right-handed, not a metaphor. Over 90% of gray whales consistently roll onto their right side to feed. You can see it in the wear on their baleen. You can see it in the scars on the right side of their jaw. You didn't need to go to the library to learn about whale-handedness. You didn't know whale-handedness was a thing. That's the entire point. The second way the library interaction goes, you say, I want to learn about whales, and the librarian says, great question. Whales are large marine mammals. They breathe air. They nurse their young. They communicate through complex vocalizations. Some species migrate thousands of miles. What else would you like to know? And you say, more whale facts, I guess. And she tells you more whale facts. And you leave knowing more whale facts than when you walked in. And you never find out about the handedness thing. You never find out about the niche mating patterns of the spade-toothed beaked whale. Because no one mentioned there was a spade-toothed beaked whale. You never find yourself at 37 years old, reading a research paper about gray whale baleen asymmetry at midnight because you followed a link, and now you're in. The second librarian is Google now. Conversational, efficient, synthesized, and completely wrong about what learning actually is. I want to be honest that I'm not purely a nostalgic here. I'm not romanticizing the past. There are good use cases for synthesized answers. I don't need blue links when I ask what the boiling point of water is at altitude. I am in a mountain cabin and just give me the number. I'm trying to make pasta for my family. But there is a category of question. The open ones, the curious ones, the I want to learn about whales ones. The ones where the answer is not the point. The path is the point. The serendipity is the point. The accidental discovery is not a bug in the old search model. That was the feature. And it's a feature we are very efficiently removing. Now, I'm going to be direct about something. Who benefits from the new model? When you find something on Google and you click to a website, Google's job is done. You left. The website got traffic. The site that published the research, the forum where the experts argue, the independent blog where someone spent 3 years becoming the most enthusiastic authority on gray whale feeding behavior, they get the visit. They get the ad revenue. They have an incentive to exist. When you stay in Google and ask follow-up questions, none of that happens. Google synthesizes the answer and you never leave. The site that produced the research gets scraped and summarized and not credited in any way that pays their hosting bill. That's not an accident. That's a business model. The web becomes the back end and the intention stays in Google. And I'm not going to call it evil yet, but I'm saying this is an incentive structure. And incentive structures matter because they determine what gets built. So let's go back to the past. In 2021, a user on a small internet forum posted a thread called Dead Internet Theory. Most of the internet is fake. The claim was this: the internet, as most of us knew it, chaotic, human, really weird, full of people with strong opinions about niche things, had been dying since around 2016. What replaced it was mostly bots, algorithmically generated content, fake accounts, all to manufacture engagement. When it first circulated, it kind of read as a conspiracy theory, maybe a little paranoid. It's interesting, but it wasn't really verifiable. But the thing is, it's not paranoid anymore. Bot traffic makes up nearly half of all the web traffic in 2023. Half! And that was before the current generation of generative AI that made it dramatically cheaper and easier to produce more convincing, infinite content at scale with very little human involvement. The version of the dead internet theory that matters isn't the conspiratorial one, the idea that shadowy actors are coordinating to deceive us. The version that matters is simpler and more structural. It's this: the internet was built on a feedback loop. Humans create content, other humans find it useful, interesting, weird, funny, and so we link to it, we share it, we respond to it. The engagement tells platform and search engines that this is worth surfing, and then creators get traffic, and that traffic is an incentive to keep creating. The cycle continues on and on, a nice feedback loop. But that feedback loop is breaking. When AI systems scrape the web to train on human knowledge, then generate content that mimics that knowledge, and then generated content is what people interact with, and that interaction is what gets measured and optimized, oh God, the human at the beginning of the chain is starting to disappear. Here's the part that's specifically related to Google's announcement. If search becomes a conversation where the answer is synthesized on the fly, the incentives to publish original, deeply researched, niche, specific, and the wonderfully weird parts, those wonderful things on the open web, go down. Not to zero, but down. Because you're not getting traffic anymore. The gray whale researcher doesn't get the visit. They get scraped. That researcher is going to notice. And at some point, the people who produce the actual knowledge that makes search worth doing are going to run the numbers on what it costs them to publish openly versus what they get back. And some of them are going to make rational decisions to stop, or to gate it, or to publish somewhere that can't be scraped, or really maybe not to start in the first place. And when that happens, the AI systems that train on web data are going to have less good knowledge to train on. They're going to get it from each other. AI models scraping AI generated content, summarizing AI generated summaries, training on outputs that other models, the signal's going to degrade and nobody can trace it back to the person who actually knew the thing. It's not hypothetical. This is the direction. I think about this through the lens of my research, which, as I've mentioned before, is about transparent AI systems. The core argument there is that AI systems should be legible to people using them, not functional, but understandable and traceable. But there's a prerequisite to legible AI that is not really talked about enough. The knowledge that AI draws on has to exist. It has to be somewhere findable, somewhere citable, somewhere that's actually real. The thing that made Google powerful was not Google. Google was a map to the internet. The internet was the thing. And the internet was the thing because there was an incentive to put knowledge there. Have really weird forums. Have an obsessive hobbyist blogs. Learn how to repair a pachinko machine from the 1970s, maybe something that I'm looking into right now. The university departments that post their research in PDFs that show up on search results, the community wikis, like I play a lot of Just Dance and I look at the Just Dance wikis, the Stack Overflow threads with the answers or the questions that never got answered. None of that was built for AI to train on. It was built by us, by people who wanted other people to find it. That incentive, the knowledge sharing incentive, is what made the training data. Training data that is now being used to build systems that systematically reduce the traffic and attention and economic return to the people who produced it. We're not in a doom spiral yet. I'm not going to be saying the sky is falling here, but I am saying we're in an incentive problem. And the incentive problems have, going back to my fun, structural solutions. But only if you name them first. There is a version of this where the answer is better attribution, where AI search tells you explicitly where the synthesis came from and gives you a path to the source, where the gray whale researcher gets surfaced, not erased, where the weird forum thread from 2009 is going to be linked, not consumed. There's a version where the map and the territory can coexist. That version requires Google to have an incentive to build it. Right now, their incentive runs the other direction, to keep you on Google, to keep the conversation going, to keep that back end invisible. The question is whether enough people name that loudly enough to shift what gets built, which, that's why I have a podcast. Here's what I believe. The hunt is worth defending. Not because it's efficient. It's really not efficient at all. It's gloriously inefficient. But because the thing you find when you're not looking for it is often the most important thing you learn. The gray whale handedness thing. You didn't need that. You need it now. I promise you need it. It's not just me alone in my room reading about this. Open web, at its best, was a library where the shelves were organized by the collective curiosity of everyone who ever wanted to share what they knew. Not perfectly, not equitably, not without a lot of junk in the stack, but generative, alive, and full of things that hadn't been summarized yet. We're making a choice right now about what we optimize for. Efficiency or exploration, synthesis or serendipity, an answer or the path to one. I don't think those are always in conflict, but when they are, when we have to pick, I think we should be honest about what we're giving up. and who benefits from the trade-off. And maybe every once in a while, go to the library. Third row on the left, marine mammals. You won't believe what you'll find. That's this episode of Chaotic Commits. I'm Joanne. New episodes wherever you get podcasts. I'll see you there.